The Train of Death, also known as Train to Hell, or at least that is the English title for this Indonesian ghost horror movie. What is the story? Well, it focuses on this new train line that has been built by a company that takes passengers directly to a new resort. And this train line has been newly built and has a variety of tunnels along its route. And it goes through this woodland area, this kind of forest, which is ancient and potentially has entities that are in it. But these developers want this particular kind of train line in this area, so they go ahead and do it. And on the maiden voyage, we have a group of passengers right from economy class up to sort of first class, go on this train with different kind of cars, each representing a gradually increase in VIP status. And whenever they go through a tunnel, demons attack the kind of the furthermost train car, and it disappears. And we have a dwindling group of survivors who are trying to figure out what's going on. Can they survive it? You'll have to watch the movie and find out. So again, this is an Indonesian movie, so obviously this is going to be a subtitled movie. Let's talk about what works in this movie's favour. I have to say, I think it's a neat idea and somewhat kind of a, an original kind of take on demon attacks, kind of an Evil Dead sort of style, creatures in the woods sort of style film. So it has a uniqueness to it in regards to its setup. It's how we've got here, and the fact that we have the train divided up into classes, all of whom get individually kind of attacked one at a time. And then we have this other kind of the B plot where the officials in the train are effectively trying to kind of cover it up and ultimately just pretend everything's A-OK. Gives us the kind of the human villains as well, so to speak. So I think the idea here is kind of quite solid. We get a cast of characters, including our main sort of point of view characters, these two sisters, one of which is dealing with a cancer. We've got a couple of the crew that are there. We've got a woman whose husband has disappeared whilst this kind of railroad was being constructed. We have a couple of social media influencers. We've got a couple that have seemingly committed some type of crime. So we get a whole bunch of people that are on this train for different kind of reasons of one another. And obviously we get the bosses as well and the kind of the executives. So I think it's an interesting, fun setup with some kind of defined characters. Again, it's somewhat difficult to judge acting when you're looking at a foreign language film because you can never really tell the translation of what you're reading to the kind of the emotional sort of performance on screen. But I've got to say, it looks fairly sort of solid to me. The effects are a little bit of a mixed bag, I won't lie. But when we do what I did like is we have some kind of creepy moments here, and it will remind you of Evil Dead at times with this kind of witch female demon that kind of floats up and things in the car or the train, and there's some pretty decent kind of shots involving uses of light and shadows that I think accentuates the kind of the creepy factor here. And then we have this sort of ticking time where we're trying to kind of sort things out before we get to the next tunnel, and ultimately these kind of things start attacking again, and the slow realization from the passengers about what's actually kind of going on. The movie is somewhat gory, but we'll talk about that again in a minute. So there's a high body count, and we do see a reasonable amount of gore. The VFX, as I say, for the most part, I pretty much liked. So that was all kind of quite fun. So yeah, it's an entertaining movie overall. I enjoyed it. It was a fun concept, but it's a little bit of a flawed concept, let me just say. And let's transition to what does not work. I think the concept here of this train going through these different tunnels, and each time they do it, they're attacked by supernatural forces. It's an interesting one. But I have to say, they're really stretching believability to have a reason why this train is carrying on. Where we have executives who just don't want to deal with it, even though, on a modern train, surely they would know that the train car is gone, and when it was gone, they would immediately kind of stop the train. I mean, they don't want to get sued, but they do try and sort of just paper over that. And even when it gets down to, you know, not very many cars left, they're still sort of doing it. So I thought that whole concept was a little silly, and then we get the kind of the human villain angle of it. It's just a little bit overcooked to me. I mean, you kind of can see the writing on the wall in where that's going to go. But yeah, it was a little bit over-hammy in regards to its sort of concept. Yeah, I think the idea is a fun one, but it's not executed in a way that I think is particularly kind of believable. I know it's a horror film. I know it's not meant to be like a documentary or a real-life drama, but again, we have to have some air of believability when we're kind of watching these films. So moving on to the kind of the VFX, there are occasions here where it clearly looks like it's set rather than an actual sort of train car. I don't think they do a particularly good enough job with kind of disguising the fact. For example, there's clear wire work on display and things like this. And then the kind of the gore stuff, which I have mentioned, there is a reasonable amount, but a lot of it is CGI. So a lot of CGI kind of exploding heads, and they don't look great. I mean, this is probably not a huge budgeted movie, but yeah, there's some of the kind of the CGI stuff. Again, maybe they could have achieved it practically. There are some practical effects on display, but some of the kind of the over-top exploding heads kind of look a little bit CGI. The demons themselves, considering they're meant to be wood spirits, I wasn't sure they looked kind of human to me. They're not possessed people, they are wood demons, we are told, but they kind of just look like humans with sort of decomposing or possessed makeup on. So I was wondering why, if they're not like possessed humans, they are straight demons, why are they kind of human looking? And again, I'm presuming it's probably a budgetary thing, but there we are. So they just kind of look like humans with funky kind of makeup on. So, you know, the concept is a little silly. I think the kind of the effects and the monsters are mixed. It's a mixed bag. Overall, though, I did enjoy this movie. I have to say, I think even though I think the concept is flawed, it was still an enjoyable idea to have a different take on possession, cabin in the wood style film. And the characters were well defined and well acted, so I will give this one a 6 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.